الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق. Now, so alhamdulillah, yesterday we were able to finish the introduction. All of that we have been reading up until yesterday's class was the introduction. So we've just actually begun the book with the dua of what a person says when they wake up. And with that, it was the dua that a person makes when going to sleep. Now, before beginning, I want to extend my apologies to everyone about my laughter yesterday. I was asked a question when mentioning a word, madja, the bed. And I was asked about beating the wife. Is it permissible? And I laughed while answering. I am not apologizing for the answer. The answer is exactly what Allah Ta'ala legislated. However, I understand that the issue, and no one contacted me. No one contacted me or asked me about, anything that happened in the class, but because the issue of domestic abuse is very serious, then when we talk about the permissible beating in Islam of the wife, which is not domestic abuse, then it's a delicate issue because it can be taken out of context. So I'm apologizing for laughing while answering, but the answer remains as is. I am not retracting the answer, nor am I apologizing for the answer, but I feel that my laughter was not appropriate for the subject. So to reiterate, Naam, it is legislated that a man can beat his wife, physically beat his wife. And as I stated yesterday, that beating should not involve leaving bruises. It should the striking should not be so hard that it could leave a bruise, and we said that is based on the striking being hard. However, if it's someone who is lighter in complexion, who there's easily you can easily see if someone has touched them and like that, then that wouldn't be taken into consideration. The strength of the blows was taken into consideration. So it should not leave a bruise, nor should it break a bone, nor should it draw blood or anything like that. But it is permissible for a man to discipline his wife. This is what Allah said. It is not up for debate, nor is it up for voting, nor is it based on anybody's opinion. This is what Allah Ta'ala said in Surah An-Nisa. Those women who are disobedient can be struck by their husbands, and they cannot be struck in the face. You cannot bruise them. You cannot break bones. And these are the same rights as the children. And it's amazing, many women who are offended, and that's between them and Allah, are offended by the permissibility of disciplining the wife physically, but yet I've seen through my experience, those same women are some of the harshest people when it comes to disciplining their children, but they have not sought to study. We have an ayat in Quran saying to strike the wife if she's disobedient, and there's not one verse in the Quran that says strike the children. But nobody argues about the permissibility of striking the children. People beat their children, strike their children, and all types of punishment they make up in order to discipline their children with no evidence. If you ask someone, what is your proof that you can beat your children? They can't tell you anything. If you ask anyone, what is the proof that you can beat your children? They don't have any proof. Then you get to something that actually has an ayah to back it up. And you see the people offended. Well, if you're offended by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's an issue with your iman. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. That's an issue with your iman. So once again, I apologize for the laughter. However, the issue is, as was said, and the ruling is what was mentioned. Now, so the last thing we mentioned yesterday was talking about the importance of displaying the favors of Allah upon an individual, so that this is from the forms of thanking Allah by showing his favor. And the last point that the Sheikh mentioned that we went over was knowledge. So if Allah Ta'ala has bestowed knowledge upon an individual, then it is not for the person to feign humility, to fake this being humble and pious by behaving ignorantly, meaning as if they don't know when they know. Rather, this is from the forms of mockery of the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and mockery of the individual that may be coming to the person for an answer. So some people are affected by a reverse riyah. So riyah, the normal riyah that we know about is when a person exposes their good in order for people to praise them. Reverse riyah is when a person goes to extremes and hiding their good also for the people to praise them. Just like that. So you have the hadith of the one who wears clothes of fame, that Allah Ta'ala would what? Make him garments of fire in the hereafter. Those who wear clothes of fame, then Allah will give them garments of fire in the hereafter. So clothes of fame, as the ulama explained, are those clothing in which a person, by wearing it, wants others to feel less than them. Or clothing because of a specific name attached to it is not based on quality. A person can wear clothing based on quality, but fad followers, those who wear the clothes because of the name of an individual on those clothing, on that piece of clothing, and that if that is solved, that person now becomes pointed at with the fingertips that this person is a person of what? The upper crust. So this hadith, whoever wears clothes of fame in the dunya, Allah will give him clothes pitched to fire in the hereafter, is twofold. The one that obviously comes to the mind is those famous clothes, those clothes that are by famous designers. And the next thing is those who purposely wear despicable clothing or clothing of poverty in order for them to be thought of as being righteous and abandoning the dunya. This is also considered clothes of fame. Actions are by intentions. So you have individuals who dress down intentionally while Allah has given them wealth in order for them to be thought at as being very religious. And this is not from our deen. This is also a form of showing off. So a person, as the Prophet said to that companion, when he wasn't dressed according to his means, and he mentioned to him his wealth, he said, don't you own such and such and such and such and such and such? He said, yes. He said, فَأَذْهِرْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. He said, then show the favor of Allah upon you. That's how you thank Allah. Person, Allah blessed them to have a good vehicle, should not be driving a car that's break down, he needs to jump, somebody has to push him. You get a better car. Why would you drive a car that's giving you problems when Allah has blessed you with wealth to have a car that rides well? As the Prophet said, the three things of the good of this dunya: a righteous wife, a spacious home, and a good riding beast. This is from the good of the dunya that the Muslim should seek. Muslims should seek. Nah. And a Muslim should not seek out poverty. There's no evidence of seeking out poverty. And many times Muslims mix up abandoning the dunya as zuhud. They think that it means faqr. Zuhud, which is asceticism, meaning a person only takes of the dunya what he actually needs and doesn't bother with superfluous things. That's different from poverty. Poverty is a situation when a person does not have what he needs. Zuhud is when a person has what he needs and he doesn't go beyond that. So he has good clothes to cover himself. It doesn't mean he wears bad clothes. He has good clothes to cover himself. He buys what's sufficient. His clothes are clean. And like that, it doesn't mean he walks around dirty, food stains, that like that. And then when you say, I think you have stains that I don't care about the dunya. This is not from the sunnah of the Prophet said no. Where's the narration where the Prophet walked around with dirty clothes? Where's the hadith? Where's any evidence the Prophet walked around with ripped up clothes or any of the Anbiya? You can't get more pious than the Anbiya. You can't get more pious than the Anbiya. So they lived in homes that were sufficient for what they need according to the buildings of their time. They had a riding beast that was sufficient for their needs according to the riding beast of their time. They wore clothing that was sufficient for their need according to the clothing of their time, and so forth and so on. So we have to get some balance. We have to get balance because we are prohibited in our religion to go to extremes and to be negligent. We should not go overboard, nor should we be negligent. So it is not from humility or piety for a person to fake and feign that they don't know and they don't understand while they know and understand. It's not correct. We look at the story of Allah Ta'ala telling us what happened between him and the angels and in reference to him creating Adam alayhi salam. Allah Ta'ala said, Aina. وإذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة قالوا أتجعل فيها من يفسد فيها ويسفك الدماء ونحن نسبح بحمدك ونقدس لك قال إني أعلم ما لا تعلمون وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها. This is the verse I want. وعلم آدم الأسماء كلها ثم عرضهم على الملائكة فقال أنبئوني بأسماء هؤلاء إن كنتم صادقين. So he taught Adam the names of everything. And then he presented them to the angels and said, tell me the names of these things if you are truthful. قالوا سبحانك. They said, you are perfect. لا علم لنا. We don't have any knowledge إلا ما علمتنا, except for that which you taught us. So now they refrained from speaking because they did not know. Right? قال يا آدم أنبئهم بأسمائهم. He said, Adam informed them. Adam didn't say, oh my Lord, I'm not going to speak in your presence. I'm not going to. No, Adam he spoke. When he had the knowledge that Allah gave him, he spoke. He said what he knew. And like that. And that's what happens in every situation. A person speaks according to what he knows, especially if there's a benefit in him speaking. Silence is when the speech either has no benefit or has a definite harm or a possible harm. 3 times a person should be silent. Speech that has no benefit, speech that has a definite harm, and speech that has a possible harm. At the top of the list is speech that has a definite harm. So speech that is definitely harmful, we stay quiet. Speech that is possibly harmful, then in most cases, the person should remain quiet. And speech that is of no benefit, we should remain quiet. That's how we control our tongue. Speech that is a definite benefit, speak. That's a possible benefit, speak. And there's definitely no harm in it. You're not sure about the benefit, but there's definitely no harm in it, speak. But definite harm, possible harm, no benefit, remain silent. As the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said what? Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir falyaqul khayr wa liyasmut. He said, let whoever believes in Allah and the last day say that which is good or remain silent. No. So we don't want to fake piety. After this, the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala said, فإذا أنعم الله عليك بعلم فليرى عليك أثر هذا العلم. So if Allah has favored you by giving you knowledge, then let the effects of that knowledge, we said the biggest effect of that knowledge is acting upon it. Is acting upon it. أثر هذا العلم ونشره عفوا من نشره بين الناس, from spreading it between the people, وتعليمه للناس, and teaching it to the people, والدعوة إلى الله عز وجل, and calling to Allah the Mighty Sublime, وغير ذلك. فالشكر يكون من جنس النعمة التي أنعم الله بها عليك, because being thankful is from the types of favors that Allah Ta'ala bestowed upon you. Oh, the a'am, and that which is more general. إذن فمن عصى الله فإنه لم يقم بشكر نعمة الله. So in that case, whoever disobeys Allah, in that issue, he is not thanking Allah for his favor. Disobedience is the opposite of thank. It shows ungratefulness. Kafir bi ni'matillah. He's an ungrateful person. Kafir here means ungrateful, not disbeliever. Kafir bi ni'matillahi. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And Allah's refuge is sought. فَالْعَاصِي لَمْ يَكُمْ بِشُكْرِ نِعْمَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. So the disobedient one has not established being thankful for the favors of Allah the Mighty and Sublime. وَيَنْقُصْ مِنْ شُكْرِهِ بِقَدْرِ مَا أَتَى من المعصية. And his thankfulness to Allah, his gratefulness to Allah is decreased to the level of the disobedience that he performs. حتى لو قال الإنسان بلسانه أشكر الله الشكر لله ها أشكر الله الشكر لله وهو يعصي الله فإنه لم يصدق فيما قال. He said, even if an individual was to say with his tongue, I thank Allah, all thanks is due to Allah, while he's disobeying Allah, then he is not truthful in what he is saying. فالشكر القيام بطاعة المنعم, because being thankful is by establishing the obedience of the one who has bestowed the favors. والشكر له والشكر له فائدتان عظيمتان. And establishing the thankfulness to Allah, it has two mighty and great benefits. منها الاعتراف بالله تعالى في حقه. From it, acknowledging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to his rights, wa fadlihi, in his virtue and bounty, wa ihsanihi, in his goodness and excellence toward his slaves, wa minha annahu sababu limazid an-ni'mah. And the other one is that it is a reason for Allah to increase the favor that he has bestowed. كلما شكرت زادت نعم الله عليك. Every time you thank Allah, the favors of Allah increase upon you. قال الله تعالى, Allah Ta'ala said, وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. Allah Ta'ala said, and your Lord had announced that if you are thankful, then I will increase you. And if you are ungrateful, then indeed my punishment is severe. إذا شكر الإنسان زاده الله وإذا كفر أعرض نفسه لعذاب الله. If the individual thanks Allah, Allah will increase him. And if he is ungrateful to Allah, he has now put himself in a position to be punished by Allah. وَعَذَابُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى شَدِيدٌ, and Allah's punishment is severe. وَشُكْرُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى على النعم التي أنعمها وسهل الوصول إليها فوصلت إلينا من غير حول ولا قوة منا. Now, and the thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the favors which he bestowed upon us, that came to us with ease and came to us without any might, power, or strength from us. هذه طيبات التي نأكلها, these good things that we eat. لو شاء الله تعالى لم نقدر عليها. If Allah willed, we would not be able to get those things. إما لعسر فينا either because of a difficulty that we have, وإما لهذه النعم, or due to them not being present. فالمهم علينا أن نشكر نعمة الله ويكون الشكر من جنس النعمة. So what is important is that it is upon us to thank Allah for Allah for his favors. And shukr itself is a favor from Allah. فنبذل من العلم والمال بحسب ما أعطانا الله عز وجل. So we exert from our knowledge, or from the knowledge and the wealth that Allah has given us based on what he has given us. قوله الذي أحيانا And it's the Prophet ﷺ statement, the one who has given us life. The one who has given us life. أي قدر لنا أن نستيقظ بعد الموتة الصغرى وهي النوم. Meaning the one who gave us the ability to wake up after the small death, which is sleep. وقال صنعاني رحمه الله تعالى أيقظنا بعد نومنا. And Imam San'ani said he woke us up after our sleep. وَرَدَّ أَرْوَاحَنَا بَعْدَ قَبْضِهَا. And he returned our souls after taking them. فَإِنَّ النَّوْمِ هُوَ الْمَوْتِ الْأَصْغَرِ. Because indeed sleep, it is a small version of death. قَوْلُهُ بَعْدَمَا أَمَاتَنَا سُمِيَ النَّوْمِ مَوْتًا لِاشْتِرَاكِهِمَا في انقطاع تعلق الروح بالبدن. Death, sleep is called death because they both share the reality of the soul being removed from the body. وقال الطيبي رحمه الله تعالى سمي النوم موتا. الطيبي, may Allah have mercy upon him, said sleep is called death لأنه يزول معه العقل والحركة. Sleep is called death because the intellect and the movements are removed. تمثيلا وتشبيها, giving it a resemblance, giving it resemblance. Now, وقيل الموت في كلام العرب يطلق على السكون. يقال ماتت الريح إذا سكنت. And it is said that death, according to the Arabs before, they used to say death associated with, if it's used generally, it means the absence of movement. It is said the wind, we even say it in English, the wind died down. Something stops, we say it died down. The noise died down. When it stops, it died. So we even use the word die. So they said the wind has died if it stopped blowing. ويستعمل في زوال القوة العاقلة. And it also said when the person's brain function stops or intellect stops. وقال القاضي عياض رحمه الله تعالى يريد بالموت هنا النوم. And Al-Qadi Iyad said what is intended by death here is sleep. والأصل الموت في كلام العرب السكون. And the origin of death, according to the speech of the Arab, is silence or the absence of movements. فنبه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إعادة اليقظة بعد النوم على إثبات البعث بعد الموت. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used returning to being awake after being asleep as an evidence to prove the what? The resurrection after death. The same one that removed our souls and put us in that state and then put our souls back in our body so we can wake up. Why would it be difficult for him to remove our souls and bring us back to life? Number 4. قوله وإليه النشور. And to him is the resurrection and the return. إعادة الأرواح إلى الأجساد للعرض والحساب ونشر الميت ينشر نشورا ونشر الميت ينشر نشورا إذا عاش بعد الموت. ونشر الميت, and the nashr of the dead, ينشر نشورا, if he lived after having died. أنشره الله أي أحياه. Allah Ta'ala أنشره الله, meaning he gave him life again. Now, وأرض المنشر وأرض المنشر أي موضع نشور, and the land of منشر, meaning the land of resurrection. وما أنشر اللحم وأنبتت العظم. نعم، عفوا. وما أنشر اللحم وأنبتت العظم. So, and the meat did not come back, and the bone is in its place. A شده وقواه من الإنشاء. It means he pulled him and strengthened him. This is what انشار means, and made him stand. الإحياء. نعم، الإحياء, to give life. قال علامة بن عثيمين رحمه الله تعالى: فتحمد الله الذي فتحمد الله الذي أحياك بعد الموت. So praise Allah who has given you life after death. وتذكر أن النشور يعني من القبور، وإخراج من القبور يكون إلى الله. فتتذكر ببعثك من موتتك الصغرى. Now, and remember that the nushur, the resurrection from the graves and coming out of the graves, is to return to Allah the Mighty and Sublime. And remember your resurrection, your small resurrection that took place. بَعَثِكَ مِن مَوْتِكَ الْكُبْرَى. So this small resurrection, after being asleep and being awakened, should remind you of the great resurrection after your permanent or your long death, not permanent. وَتَقُولْ, and say, الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي أَحْيَانَا. All praise is due to Allah who has given us life. بَعْدَ إِذْ أَمَاتَنَا, after he had caused us to die. وَإِلَيْهِ النُّشُورُ, and to him is the resurrection and return. وَهَذَا يَزِيدُكَ إِيمَانًا بِالْبَعْثِ, and this increases you in your faith in the resurrection. وَالْإِيمَانُ بِالْبَعْثِ أَمْرٌ مُهِمٌّ, and having faith in the resurrection is a very important affair. لولا أن الإنسان يؤمن بأنه سوف يبعث ويجازي على عمله ما عمله. ولهذا نجد كثيرا أن الله تعالى يقرن الإيمان باليوم الآخر بالإيمان به عز وجل. Now, and having faith in the resurrection is a very important affair. If it wasn't for faith and belief in the resurrection, if it wasn't for faith and belief in the resurrection, that an individual believed that he would be resurrected and recompensed for what he did, he wouldn't do any actions. And for that reason, we find many times Allah Ta'ala combines between the mentioning of belief in him and belief in the last day. Man yu'minu billahi wa yawm al-akhir. Whoever believes in Allah on the last day, whoever believes in Allah on the last day, whoever believes in Allah on the last day, and many ahadith. قوله إذا أوى إلى فراشه. قال الحافظ ابن حجر إذا أوى إلى فراشه أي دخل فيه. So when he says when the Prophet used to go to bed, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani said this means when he used to get into his bed or climb onto his bed. قوله اللهم قال الخليل والسبويه وجميع النحويين الموثوق بعلمهم اللهم بمعنى يا Allah. So قال الخليل, al-Khalil, he is the great Persian scholar of the Arabic language, Khalil ibn Ahmad al-Farahidi. And Sibawayh is his student, his top student. So both of them say, and all of the scholars of the Arabic language that are their knowledge is trusted, they said Allahumma means, oh Allah. So a person can say, Ya Allah, or say Allahumma. That's what it means. وَإِنَّ الْمِيمِ الْمُشَدَّدَةِ عِوَضٌ مِنْ يَا. And the meme with the shadda, Allahumma, that's at the end of the word, it takes the place of saying, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. So you say Allahumma. And there's an important point about this. We cannot abuse Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes. From the abuse of Allah's names and attributes, of course, is to deny them. That's level one. Takes a person out of the fold of Islam. Somebody knew that Allah attributed to himself a name and said, no, that is not a name for Allah. And it's clearly in the Quran and Sunnah. This would take a person out of the fold of Islam. If Allah described himself in a way and somebody said, no, that is not Allah's description, it's likewise would take him out of the fold of Islam. If someone knew the name or description of Allah in Quran was Sunnah and reinterpreted it, did an interpretation other than the clear meaning of it as found in Quran and Sunnah, then this is a major sin. This is innovation. It's innovation. For Allah Ta'ala said, بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُطَتَانِ يُنْفِقُ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. Surah Al-Ma'idah. Rather, both of his hands are stretched out. He provides in any way he pleases. So if someone tried to say, no, hand means care, hand means mercy, hand means this is bid'ah, this is innovation, the Prophet ﷺ never said that. The Sahaba never said that. The Tabi'una never said that. The Tabi'u Tabi'ina never said that. So from where is this person getting that knowledge? The ayah applies. Allah Ta'ala said, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ. And when it is said to them, believe as the people believe, the people that they were ordered to believe as were the companions. So we have to believe in Allah according to the same belief that the companions had. So Allah says he has hands, he rolls, and all of that. We believe in that. We don't deny it, nor do we interpret it. The next way of abusing is to give resemblance to Allah's descriptions as to creation. Say, oh no, Allah has hands like, and resemble it to something in creation. This is haram, this is bid'ah, this is also kufr. So we don't give it any resemblance, right? Or any relation to the creation, nor do we ask how about the attributes and the names of Allah. We don't say, how is he this? How did he do that? How could you? Whatever you imagine in your mind, Allah is not like that, because whatever you imagine is created and Allah is not created. You only can imagine about created things. So you take the names and attributes of Allah Ta'ala on face value as Allah Ta'ala sent them down. Now, also from the abuse of Allah's names and attributes is to scream them out, as we know happens in Sufi. Scream, Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Qudus, Ya Malik, Ya Salam, Ya. Okay? If I say, Ya Khalid, 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 Khalid,
نعم.
Khalid, Khalid, Khalid. It's the problem, right? You keep calling me for it. You're not going to say anything. So this is with us. So if you're going to call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you need to be asking him for something, repenting for something, seeking refuge from something. Don't call Allah's names and then say nothing. We don't like when people call our names and then say nothing. Somebody kept calling you and said nothing after calling you. What this is called abath. This is just being frivolous and wasteful, being foolish. Being foolish. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Kareem, Ya Quddus. And then they're crying, what are you doing? What are you doing? None of the prophets, alayhim salatu wasalam, did this. None of the Sahaba did this. None of the Tabi'un did this. None of the Tabi'ut Tabi'in did this. Where are they getting their knowledge from? Where are they getting this information from? To say Allah's name and then don't ask for anything, don't seek refuge from anything, don't repent from anything. No, we call on Allah Ta'ala, we call on his beautiful names for a reason. So don't call on Allah for no reason. because this is like making mockery of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's like it's a joke between us. We call on each other and don't say anything. The brother's not looking. You say, come here. He looks around. Can't see you calling. Come here. It's a joke people play. That's a joke. It's mockery, right? So no, we don't call on Allah. So we don't abuse Allah's names. We don't abuse Allah Ta'ala's description. Nah. اللهم بمعنى يا الله وإن الميم المشددة عوضا عن من يا لأنه لم يجد يا مع هذه الميم. So because there's no ya with the meme, so you don't say ya Allahumma. You say Allahum, and that means oh Allah. Now, من هذه في كلمة واحدة. So the ya and that meme doesn't come together in one word. ووجد اسم الله ووجد اسم الله مستعملا بياء إذا لم يذكر الميم في آخر الكلمة. So you say you have Allah, ya Allah, and then you have Allahumma. So if you take off the meme of Allahumma, what happens? It turns into ya Allah again. And when you put the meme on Allahumma, then you take away the ya. So either you're going to have the meme with the shadda on the end, or ya at the beginning, but they both don't come together at the same time. Ya Allahumma. No, Allahumma or ya Allah. They both mean the same thing. Walhamdulillah. Now, فعلموا أن الميم في آخر الكلمة بمنزلة يا. So they knew by that the meme at the end of the word is in place of the ya في أولها, in the beginning of it. والضمة التي هي في الهاء هي ضمة الاسم المنادى نعم المفرد، والميم مفتوحة لسكونها وسكون الميم قبلها قال الفراء نعم. ومن العرب من يقول إذا طرح الميم يا اللهم عفوا يا الله اغفر لي. Now, oh Allah, that was some grammar. So, well, inshallah, when we get to that stage, it's talking about the munada, the the ruling in grammar about the one who was being called on, and gets sadamma and like that. But that's grammar. Now, and from the Arabs or those who, if the meme is removed, they say Ya Allah, forgive me. Ya Allah اغفر لي. Allah forgive me. بهمزة ومنهم من يقول يا الله بغير همزة يا الله. So from the Arabs are those who say Ya Allah, and from them say Ya Allah بغير همزة. Now, فمن حذف الهمزة فهو على سبيل. So whoever removes the hamza, it's because it is alif. واللام مثل لام الحرف من الأسماء وأشبهه. That's more grammar. ومن همزها توهم الهمزة من الحرف فإذا كانت لا تسقط منه الهمزة. Again, grammar. وقال الإمام ابن القيم الجوزية or Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya. If you say Ibn al-Qayyim, then al-Jawzi. But if you say Ibn and you say Qayyim without alif wa lam, then you say al-Jawziyya, because Jawziyya was a school and his father was the director of that school. So he's al-Qayyim means the director, the overseer. So you say, if you want to attribute him to the director, which his father, you would say Ibn Qayyim, Ibn al-Qayyim, right? So the son of the director al-Jawziyya, of the school Jawziyya, right? Or you can say Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya, the son of the one, other one is Mu'arraf, and the other one is Mudaf ilayh, meaning he's being attributed to the school himself. He's either going to be the director of the school or director of the school. No, but that's what it means. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyya or Ibn al-Qayyim. Nah. What's his al-Jawziyya? Ibn al-Qayyim. La ilaha illallah. It's not. Yeah. Nah. You see, this is a good question. 1 minute. Nah, Shamsuddin. Abu Abdullah. Nah. Ibn al-Qayyim, his name is Shamsuddin. Nah. لا خلاف أن اللفظ اللهم معناها يا الله. And there's no difference of opinion that the statement or the word Allahumma means oh Allah. There's no difference of opinion. ولهذا لا تستعمل إلا في الطلب. Look at that. And for that reason, it is not used except when making a request. فلا يقال اللهم غفور رحيم. So you don't say Allahumma, the most forgiving, the most merciful. Right? But you call Allahumma ighfir li warhamni. But you say, oh, Allah, forgive me and have mercy upon me. واختلف النحاة في الميم المشددة في آخر الاسم فقال سيبويه زيدت عوضا من حرف النداء. And they differed about the meme with the shadda at the end of the word. So Sibawayh said it is an extra meme to take place of the ya and nida. ولذلك لا يجوز عنده الجمع بينهما في اختيار الكلام. And for that reason, according to his opinion, that is not permissible to what? To bring both of them together. فلا يقال يا اللهم إلا فيما ندر. So you cannot say Ya Allahumma, oh Allah, except in very rare circumstances. When you سمى ما كان من هذا الضرب عوضا إذ هو في غير محل المحذوف. This is more grammar. I'll just translate this. And this is called a replacement if it's in the place of something that F1. If it's in other than the place of that which was removed. So the yas in the beginning, it was removed. So it's called iwad because it was placed where the ya would normally go. Okay. فإن كان في محله سمي البدل. And if it was in his place, okay, we're going to skip this part. لا يجوز عنده يوسف هذا الاسم. Now, also is not from the sifat. Allahumma is not from the sifat. Nah, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some more gravel. Nah. Nah. That's why we have to get into the everyday Arabic class, so that when we get to these parts, we can just continue when we see the benefits. It's tremendous benefit that he's mentioning. He's mentioning 10 points by Ibn al-Qayyim concerning this, and the point of Sibawayh and the madhahib, because you have two madhahib when it concerns the Nahu. You have the method of Kufa and the method of Basra, and he's bringing some of those points. No. Nah. So I mentioned a good benefit here. That I think it'll be فَالسَّائِلْ إِذَا قَالَ. So the questioner, if he said, اللهم إني أسأل, فأنه قال أدعو الله الذي له الأسماء الحسنى وصفات العلى بأسمائه وصفاته فأتى بالميم مؤذنة بالجمع في آخر هذا الاسم. So he said, so if the questioner said, oh Allah, I ask you, it's as if he's saying, I call on Allah, the one who has the most beautiful names and the most lofty attributes, according by his names and by his attributes. So he brings the meme as if it's seeking permission to gather all, walaikum salam wa rahmatullah, all of the names. You have the meme and the end of the word together, all the names, إذانا بسؤال تعالى, seeking permission of Allah Ta'ala بأسمائه كلها, by calling him by all of his names. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So it's as if a person says, Allahumma, it's like saying, oh Allah, I'm calling on you by all of your names. Like the Prophet said in the hadith that is sahih, ما أصاب عبدا قط هم ولا حزن. There has never befell anxiety or depression on any. فقال اللهم إني عبدك. So he says, Allahumma, oh Allah, I am your slave. Ibnu Abdik, the son of your slave. Ibnu Amatik, the son of your slave girl. He's talking about his mother and his father. Nasiyati biyadik, my forelock is in your grasp. Ma'adin fiya hukmuk, your ruling is upon me. Adalun fiya qada'uk, you are just in you which you have decreed for me. As'aluka, I ask you, bi kulli ismin walak, by every name that you have. Sammayta bihi nafsak, that you have named yourself. أو أنزلته عفوا في كتابك, or and the sukun here should be a fatha. أنزلته في كتابك, or you sent it down in your book. أو علمته أحدا من خلقك, or you taught it to someone from your creation. أو استثرت به في علم الغيب عندك, or you kept it as a secret from the unseen with yourself. أن تجعل القرآن ربيع قلبي, that you make the Quran the brightness or the spring of my heart. وَنُورَ صَدْرِي, and the light of my chest. وَجَلَاءَ حُسْنِي, and the thing that removes my depression. وَذِهَابَ هَمِّي, and the thing that takes away my anxiety. وَغَمِّي, and my stress. إِلَّا أَذْهَبَ اللَّهُ هَمَّهُ وَغَمَّهُ. No slave called on Allah, but this dua is authentic. With this dua, except Allah will remove the anxiety and stress and depression from this individual. Muslims who are caught up in the, what are they saying? The mental illness issue and all of that that's going on. Have you tried this? Have you tried this? I'll repeat it. The Prophet said, never is a Muslim affected with anxiety or depression, period. And then he says, Allahumma inni abduk. Oh Allah, I am your slave. Allahumma inni abduk. Oh Allah, I am your slave. Allahumma inni abduk. Oh Allah, I am your slave. Ibnu abdika, the son of your male slave. Ibnu amatika, the son of your female slave. Nasiyati biyadik. I'm sorry, nasiyati biyadik. My forelock is in your hand, in your grasp. Ma'adin fiya hukmuk, your ruling is upon me. Adlun fiya qada'uk, your decree upon me is just. As'aluka, I ask you. Bi kulli ismin huwa lak, by every name that belongs to you. Sammayta bihi nafsak, that you have named yourself. O anzaltahu fi kitabik, or you sent it down in your book. أو علمته أحدا من خلقك, or you taught it to one of your creation. أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك, or you kept it hidden in the knowledge of the unseen with yourself. أن تجعل القرآن, that you make the Quran ربيع قلبي, light of my heart, or the inspiration of my heart. Rabi' means like spring, but here means like the light or the what do you call it? The illumination of my heart. وَنُورَ صَدْرِي, in the light of my chest. وَجَلَاءَ حُزْنِي, and the raising or the removal of my depression. وَذِهَابَ هَمِّي وَغَمِّي, and that which removes my anxiety and stress. Nobody says that. إِلَّا أَذْهَبَ اللَّهُ هَمَّهُ وَغَمَّهُ. Nobody says that except that Allah will remove his stress and anxiety. وَأَبْدَلَهُ مَكَانَهُ فَرَحًا, and Allah will exchange in place of it joy. Allahu Akbar. قالوا يا رسول الله أفلا نتعلمهن. They said, the Sahaba said, "Oh Messenger of Allah, so should we not learn it?" قال بلى. He said, of course. ينبغي لمن سمعهن أن يتعلمهن. The Prophet said, it's important, it's a must that whoever heard this, that he learns it. That he learns it. SubhanAllah. So those brothers who want to learn it can refer back to Jazakumullahu khair. Now, refer back to this recording, and at any time the brothers here, the brothers who have my number can call if you want to check the pronunciation. Am I saying it right? The Prophet said, whoever hears it should learn it. Whoever hears it should learn it. Allahumma inni abduka, ibnu abdika, ibnu amatika, nasiyati biyatik, madin fiyya hukmuk, عدل في قضاؤك, أسألك بكل اسم هو لك سميت به نفسك أو أنزلته في كتابك أو علمته أحدا من خلقك أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك أن تجعل القرآن ربيع قلبي ونور صدري وجلاء حزني وذهاب همي وغمي. اللهم إني عبدك ابن عبدك ابن أمتك ناصيتي بيدك ماض في حكمك عدل في قضاؤك أسألك بكل اسم هو لك سميت به نفسك أو أنزلته في كتابك أو علمته أحدا من خلقك أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك أن تجعل القرآن ربيع قلبي ونور صدري وجلاء حزني. نعم. وذهاب همي وغمي. نعم. So we'll stop here. MashaAllah. And tomorrow we have tafsir. Naam, sir. That's some sajah. The brother said it rhymes. This is called sajah. Rhyming in Arabic now. So it should be easy to learn. It's not very long, but we all face times of duress, stress, anxiety, and anybody who has that feeling of tightness in his chest or confusion in his mind wants it to go away. Nobody wants to stay in that state. This is how we can remove that. Allahumma inni abduk, ibnu abdik, ibnu amatik, nasiyati biyadik, ماض في حكمك عدل في قضاؤك أسألك بكل اسم هو لك سميت به نفسك أو أنزلته في كتابك أو علمته أحدا من خلقك أو استأثرت به في علم الغيب عندك أن تجعل القرآن ربيع قلبي ونور صدري وجلاء حزني وذهاب همي وغمي. نعم. Abu Rumaysa, you have your hand up. نعم.
نعم. Just trying to get understanding real quick. الفرق بين غمي وهم. One's about worry over the future and the other one's about the past, صح?
No, Huzn is the past. Ham is the
Oh,
future, and gham is the present.
the present. Okay.
Yeah, gham can
Okay.
al-gham can be derived as can be translated as stress or duress. You're
Over
in
the
the situation. Ham
in it.
is
Okay.
anxiety. What ham means? What is anxiety according to Islam? I don't know scientists what they say today, but Islam describes depression, anxiety. No, it's the opposite of depression. Anxiety is the fear of a bad thing in the future. So a person is feeling anxiety. It's like, oh, man, I don't know what's going to happen. And so he's feared that something bad is going to happen in the future. That's anxiety. Ram, that's ham. Ram, and this is why the Prophet ﷺ said, either in the hadith of Salat al-Istikhara, he said, either hamma ahadukum. He said, either hamma. Hamma, it means to make a future consideration. So istikhara is about what? Ham, that the person was making a determination to do something in the future. So al-ham is talking about the future. So it's a stress about an evil thing that could happen in the future. That's ham. That's anxiety. As for stress and duress, it's the feeling of burden due to a trial or tribulation that is affecting the person at the time. Correct. So that's a gam. That's person. That's gam. Gam. And then you have hazan or huzn, which means sadness, and it is the person feeling how can you say? I don't want to use the same word.
Like regret.
Regret over something bad that happened in the past. That's depression. Depression is about something bad that happened in the past. This is according to our definition. I don't know what the scientists say, but in Islam, the person feels depression is when the person what? Feels stress, or not stress, but feels regret and sadness over something that took place in the past. That's what causes depression. Anxiety is the fear of something bad happening in the future, and that's anxiety. And duress and stress is due to the feeling pressure of something that's happening right now. The person opened up the mail, 3 or 4 bills. The kid, that's gham. That's gham. Because the word gham is from the same word, ghuyam, which means cloud, to be cloudy. So as if you feel cloudy, right? So that's right now. What happens when it's ghuyam, when we're trying to see the moon for Ramadan? Prophet said, فَإِذَا غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. So if it's cloudy, so he said if it's cloudy on the 29th, then just do 30. You can't see the moon, then just do complete 30 days. Now, so this is cloudy. So that's the rush and stress. You feel cloudy. You feel overcome. You feel overpowered. Nah. So we have the stress, anxiety, and the Prophet used to seek refuge from. The Prophet used to seek refuge. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hami wal-hazan. Oh Allah, I seek refuge from anxiety and depression. Seek refuge. So we don't deny that these things exist, but we say we have alternative, but it shouldn't be alternative. We have the original ways to treat these things. But before the things, these dua and all of that, there are 3 things that will take away, unless there's a chemical imbalance or a physical injury that's causing mental illness, an actual chemical imbalance. If it is just situation, because many things that are attached to mental illness are situation. If the situation is removed, the person will be normal. But if the person is in the situation, they're acting out, they're going through what they're going through. And being diagnosed with something makes them act out even more. As soon as they get an excuse, it's over. You can't stop them now. Anytime something happens, they're going to act out. But the 3 things that is needed for stable mental health is, number 1, al-iman bil-qadr. Belief in the qadr. The Prophet repeated it in the hadith of Jibril. وَإِن تُؤْمِنَ بِالْقَدْرِ خَيْرِهِ وَشَرِّهِ. And to believe in the qadr, the good. So to know that, as the hadith in Tirmidhi, the Prophet said, وَعْلَمْ أَنَّ مَا أَصَابَكَ لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُخَطِئُكَ. وَمَا أَخْطَأَكَ مَا لَمْ يَكُنْ لِيُصِيبَكَ. So the thing that befell you, it wasn't in order to push you into wrong. It wasn't in order to push you into wrong. So if something befell an individual, if he believes that the good of it and the evil of it, and that Allah Ta'ala does not intend to harm him, but this is a situation from the decrease of the life. It's part of life. When the person accepts it as a part of life, and it's a transition in a stage that he's going through, he can have a feeling of not complete relaxation, but acceptance. Because the biggest problem is what? Not accepting it. Wondering how about it like that. When one person say, oh, this is bad, but it's the qadr. He gets a form of relief. It's some psychological relief come there. So the first thing is belief in the qadr. The second thing is at-tawakkul, having trust in Allah. The person, before doing something, he has to trust in Allah that Allah will allow him to achieve it, right? But when something doesn't go his way, he has to trust that Allah Ta'ala more than likely removes something that was going to be harmful in that thing he wanted from him. So Allah kept him from it because he doesn't know the future is some harm. Or Allah Ta'ala plans for him something better than that. So, al-iman bil-qadr wa tawakkul. And then after that, as-sabr, patience. As-sabr. And the sabr, what is sabr? Is the difference between sabr and what? The intidar, and waiting. As-sabr wal intidar, two different things. Waiting is when something has happened to an individual or is not happening for an individual, and they have the ability to change it, but they don't. That person's waiting. Why? Allah. But the person who has sabr is the person who something has befell him, and he's out of any method humanly possible to change it. This is what it is. This is why Allah mentioned that in death, the loss of wealth, things that you have no control over. This is when Allah said, be patient. The Prophet ﷺ, in another hadith in Tirmidhi, heard a Sahabi, one of the companions, asking Allah to bless him with sabr. And he said, no, he stopped him. He said, ask Allah for sabr, because if you ask Allah for sabr, you're asking him to put you to a test. He said, ask Allah for ease. He said, ask Allah for ease, don't ask him for sabr. But now we have the ayat in Quran, where in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ali Imran, that the righteous people, the army that was with Talut, they said, رَبَّنَا أَفْرِجْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا. Oh Allah, pour patience down upon us. So how do we bring the harmonization between the hadith, which is authentic? The Prophet said, don't ask for sabr. And in the Quran, that the Talut and his army were asking for sabr, and the righteous believers with other anbiya asked for sabr. So why are they asking for sabr and the Prophet saying don't ask for sabr? How do we bring that? Alaikum salam. I'm bad.
I think for two reasons. One, this was before Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the legislation of the Quran came down. You know, so Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam telling the companion this was after the events of Talut and his army. Also, they were asking for sabr because they were going through a trial. They were told to they were about to go to war, and they were told to do certain things, and some of them fell out, fell off the path, from doing those things. So I think that, from my understanding, that's why they were asked for sabr, and Allah knows best.
No, barakallah feek. Any other answers?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Jihad.
So I believe that asking for sabr in those situations in which you are being tested, like the brother mentioned, but it's things that's beyond your control, or it's something that happened that's beyond, that you couldn't do anything about. So those are the times in which they were told to ask for patience in those situations where they wasn't it wasn't by them. So those times in which you ask for it is times when the issue is not caused by you, or it's caused by other people, or a hardship situation. And when you said don't ask for it, meaning just to ask Allah to give you patience in a time where there is no such trial, so you wouldn't ask for it.
Barakallah feek. I was waiting for you to sum it up. There it goes. That's the answer right there. Your brother Jihad explained the answer. So if a person's in a state of ease, he's not going through any trial, everything is smooth, he does not raise his hand and say, Allah, give me something. He doesn't do that because he's asking for a trial. But when a person is in a trial and a fitna and in a difficulty and he can't see a way out, this is when he says, Allah, give me something. Why? Because he doesn't want to turn to somebody complaining. Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned in his book, Al-Fawaid, he said what? He called it shakwatul jahil, the complaint of the ignorant. He said, shakwatul jahil, لما يشتكي المخلوق المخلوق عفوا الخالق للمخلوق. He said the complaint of the ignorant one is when the one, a created being, complains to another created being about the creator. La ilaha illallah. How can you go, man, Allah put me through a lot right now? What are you talking about? What are you saying? Allah's put me through a lot. Who are you talking to? What is that person going to do for you if Allah's putting you through something? What kind of statement is that? So we have to be very careful. This tongue, it's dangerous. Look at the Prophet said, I guarantee if you can control it and control your private parts, I can guarantee you Jannah. This tongue is dangerous. This tongue is dangerous. Smallest muscle in the body, the most harmful. One of the smallest muscles, and it could be the most harmful muscle or the most beneficial muscle, depending on what we do. Prophet ﷺ told Mu'adh, is there anything that's going to cause the people to fall on their noses or their faces in the fire than the harvest of their tongues? SubhanAllah. Allahumma ighfir lana. Ameen. Nah. So if you're in a time of ease, you ask Allah to increase the ease, increase the good, you thank Him to increase it. And if you're in time of hardship, you ask Allah for patience and to remove the hardship. Nah. So we'll stop here. Jazakumullahu khaira. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.